Lesson 51, Top 10 Report. In this lesson, we'll take a look at creating a top 10 report using the top 10 filter. And even though it's called top 10, it could be used to create a top 5 or top 12 or bottom 5 report. We'll take a look at a different way to create a top 10 report by grouping all the customers that aren't in the top 10. And then finally, how to use the grouping option to create a frequency distribution. All right, so here we have our pivot table. We've arranged it by customer with revenue, and we want to arrange the customers so we see just the top 5 or top 10 customers. If we hover above the customer field in the top half of the pivot table field list, we can open the drop-down and choose more sort options to say that we want to see this descending based on sum of revenue. Click OK. So here we see who the top customers are, but we also see all the smaller customers as well. If you have hundreds of customers, your VP of Sales is going to want to see just the top 10. Now I'll point out here that we're $6.7 million of total revenue. When we go to the customer field, open the drop-down, there's now label filters and value filters, and the value filter that we want is called top 10. In the top 10 filter dialog box, we can choose top or bottom. We can choose whether it's the top 10 items, the top 10%, or even the top items that sum to some certain amount. So this sum option is a new one. If we would choose sum, we might say we want enough customers to show $3 million. In that case, we would use 3 million here. Of course, you wouldn't want to use the spin button for that. You would want to actually type in the field. But anyway, let's use top items and say that I want to see just the top 5 customers. Of course, based on sum of revenue, so we'll click OK. And sure enough, now we have just the top 5 customers. My problem with this view and using this filter is that the total shows us only the revenue from the top 5 customers. I would really like one line that says all other that shows the revenue from all the remaining customers. Well, let's clear this filter. Clear filter from customer. And I'll show you an alternate method. In lesson 50, we used the group field option in order to group daily dates up to months. We're going to use a similar approach here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose all the customers who are not in the top 5. Once I've chosen those customers, I'm going to group selection. Okay, now I want to show this result in the traditional view, so I'm going to go to the Design tab and under Report Layout, choose Show in Outline Form. You'll see that we now have 2 fields, one called Customer and one called Customer 2. I want to remove the Customer field from the report. And what we're left with is the top 5 customers and one other line called Group 1. Now we're allowed to rename that by typing the word Other. And we're also allowed to resequence by taking the Other field and dragging it to a new location. Of course, before we do that, let's sort the Customer 2 field. More sort options, descending based on sum of revenue to get the other items in numeric sequence. Now that we've done this, I'll choose the Other heading, and I can actually drag and drop that to the bottom of the report. So while this version of the top 5 report is much more difficult to achieve, I think it's a better report because you see that it shows 6.7 million as the total instead of just the total of the top 5 customers. In the last lesson, we took a look at grouping dates, and in this lesson, we took a look at grouping text. The one other interesting thing we can do is group numbers, and this is a great way to create a frequency distribution. I'm going to ungroup Customer 2 and remove Customer from the report. I'm then going to take the Revenue field and add it a second time to the report in the Row Labels area. I would like to change Sum of Revenue from being a sum to a count So where I have value field settings, I can change my calculation from sum to count to any of the other 11 calculations. So now I can see for every single invoice amount exactly how many times it occurred. Now, most of the time this is going to be 1. We might have a few invoices that mysteriously happen to have the exact same amount. However, here's how we're going to make this into a very interesting report. You'll see that our invoice amounts range from $1,700 down to $25,000. So I'll choose one amount in the revenue column and choose group field, and I can specify the bin size. So maybe I want to go from 0 to 27,500 in 2,500 unit increments. When I click OK, Excel now groups these up and basically has created a frequency distribution. This is very common when someone in administration says, oh, we want to do away with all these small invoices. Let's have a rule that you can only buy $2,500 or more. While doing this frequency distribution allows you to see that that will save you 52 invoices, but let's take the revenue field and add it to sum values again. And this time we'll change that one to be a sum. All right, and we can see that those 52 invoices generated $108,000 in revenue. A very interesting report here in that we basically have revenue in the report 3 times. Once in the row labels, twice in the values, once showing a count, once showing a sum. But it gives us a nice statistical picture of how our invoices are coming in. All that's achieved with the group field. Okay, so there you have it. In this lesson, we took a look at a couple of different ways to create a top 10 or a top 5 report, and then also how to take numeric fields and group them up into bins so we can see a frequency distribution. I hope you found that helpful, and thanks for watching.
Looking to advance your career by acquiring new skills? Tired of expensive off-site training programs? Wish you could learn from the best instructors in the industry? Look no further than Live Lessons. Self-paced, personal video instruction by the world's leading technology publishers. Each live lesson comes with a DVD featuring 3 to 4 hours of instructor-led classroom training, sample program code that allows you to work along with your personal instructor, and an example-rich study guide. Live lessons allow you to watch the entire course from start to finish, or navigate directly to any of the individual lessons. You'll literally watch over the shoulder of your instructor as he shows you how to build state-of-the-art applications. Live lessons, the power of the world's leading technology experts at your fingertips. To learn more, visit mylivelessons.com today.